Hey, someone put some Pokemon in my Croneo region, and created by Dr. Eevee. I think he's the one who's
Every
behind
generation
this.
has a mythical Pokemon, which usually debut as event exclusive.
Let's make some
as of
mythical
this video
Pokemon.
being made, we've just had the event for Pecharunt. So what better time to go over Croneo's mythical Pokemon than right now?
We have Nebby at
Funnily
home.
enough, the first one I want to talk about is also a poison type.
Oh,
Early on with this
neat.
project, I thought it would be interesting to do a regional variant of a mythical Pokemon, and since it
Go
still
for it.
hasn't been done before, I don't see why I shouldn't. I decided to make a variant on Manaphy. It's mono poison type. As you can see,
on Monday.
it's the victim of an oil spill. This is because Scotland
poor
borders
fool.
the North Sea, which is a hub for oil refining. I've droned on in other videos about how the oil and gas industry is killing the planet, so that explains this variant. So why Manaphy specifically? If you remember when I discussed Doomsdale, and its inspiration of the Knuckleavy, you'll remember I mentioned the Orcadian myth of the Sea Mither, which keeps the Knuckleavy at the bottom of the ocean, all the while living in the sea during the summer. Mither is Scots for mother, and Manaphy can breed, and it is also guardian of the sea. So I think Manaphy works as a Chroneomon generally.
Tie into
Although
movie!
I'm not the first to do an oil spill mon.
Did anyone
I
play
felt like
Pokemon
doing it
Ranger?
this
I know
way
it
was
sounds
unique. And the
okay,
idea of a
but
Manaphy variant
by
in
Pokemon
general.
Center's
Since I've only
okay
ever
isn't
really
good
seen
enough.
a handful of mythicals get this sort of treatment.
Sorry, you only made a
Fake
few
one
million,
being
no billions.
Its
Get
ability
out.
is Liquid Ooze. When you activate its event, you get a special key that unlocks a secret chamber in the abandoned rig, which grants you access to higher leveled and evolved versions of the mon you could find there already. The true
Cool.
final room of this dungeon is where you'd find Crony and Manaphy. You might be wondering about Fione. I decided it would
Not
be an
in this
interesting
region.
angle to go down if Manaphy couldn't breed to get a Fione, since oil spills affect the fertility of animals. I did make an offspring,
Much like Pokemon Soap, we
Denion,
don't talk about
because
Fione.
variants tend to stay in the same egg group, so I thought it made sense for a Manaphy to at least be
Denon.
able to breed. Since
Or
Denion
Denon.
is a different Pokemon to Fione, it can be in a different egg group, that being
Works out.
undiscovered, meaning it can't breed, not even with Ditto. Considering it
Aw,
does mess with
poor
fertility,
Ditto.
as well as Fione already getting a humorous reputation for being a mutant abomination, I wanted to expand on that by it being deformed. The artist made the arms resemble unraveling DNA, and the gem Fione would have in its heart is now a hole. A Pokemon
Aw,
with no
that's
heart
sad.
works for a dark type after all. It also inherits the poison from its parent. Poison Dark only has one weakness. Ground. So I gave it Levitate to remove that weakness too. This
Boom!
may seem
No
OP,
weakness.
But remember
Good
that
luck,
Denion has the
breeders.
same base stat total as Fione, 480, equally spread. So it is now a bit stronger defensively, but may not be able to utilize it. The name Denion is basically just Fione, which seems to come from Fae, which is a magical creature like the Sea Guardians, and Cleone, which is a genus of floating sea slugs, fitting of a mon with
neat.
Levitate now. Denion also has its name come from DNA, because of how the unraveling DNA is kind of core to its concept. If you're enjoying this video so far, why not give it a like and
Yeah,
subscribe?
go and check
if you're
out Dr.
new.
Eevee's
My
channel
goal
in the
for the end of the
description
year
below.
is 20,000
Give me some
subscribers,
support.
so let's make that happen. If you want to see extra information about every Chroneomon, check out my Instagram in the description, or even my Discord server if you want to chat with the other fans like yourself.
Shameless
Lastly,
plugs
if you
are
both want to and
shameless.
are able to, why not support me on Patreon or become
Do whatever
a
you want.
YouTube
It is
member
interesting
today.
so far,
You
just
get early
tying in the
access
whole
to videos as well as exclusive perks on my
pollution
Discord
into the
server.
mythical
To
and
access
making
chats
that
where
part
I
of the
show
story,
progress
I
on my
guess,
big
in a
one
way.
project early.
There's
Now
also
let's
sort
get
of like,
back
what if
to the
Galarian
video.
Weezing
Next
was
up,
a
meet
frickin'
Misket,
mythical?
mono
No,
fairy
thank you.
type, with its name coming from Miss, since it's very feminine, and Biscuit, since it's based on
Kinda reminds me of,
shortbread, a Scottish
what is it,
biscuit,
Malgira
made
or
from 1 part
something?
sugar, 2 parts butter, and 3
The
to
Gen
4 parts
6
flour.
robot
Shortbread
bunny
is one of the
thingy.
things I felt like Croneo was missing the most. I immediately thought about Diancie and Magearna, and how they are
Magearna,
the
that
only
was
fairy
it.
type mythicals by default.
You
They are
don't count.
characterized by being feminine
No, Arceus
creatures
gets to
with
be
a
everything.
pronounced
It either
skirt,
doesn't
and
count
are
or it
entirely
always
made
counts.
out
There's
of
no
inanimate
middle ground.
material. Since I think a shortbread mon would be mono-fairy type, I felt like it would make sense.
It's
to
cool
make
that Arceus
Misket
is like the
somewhat
only
resemble the
normal
aforementioned
legendary,
Pokemon. It also has a
losing
mix
its
of
base
geometric
form.
shapes that shortbread typically comes in, as well as some shapes to sell its feminine appearance with petticoat tails. It also crumbles at the bottom, as that's what shortbread can do. Crumble. It is a biscuit after all. She's honestly giving
It
off
fits.
fairy tale myth vibes. Perhaps it's foreshadowing a future region based around myths and stories.
Hint,
Wouldn't be the first time
hint.
mythicals foreshadowed the following regions.
We are
Although
checking
with
out the
those,
sequel
perhaps it was an
series, so
accident.
don't worry about
Either
that. It's
way,
nowhere near
I
as
like
long
this
as this
theory,
one.
and I
Well, not
applied it
this
to
one's
the
that
following
long,
two
but
mythical
still,
Pokemon as well.
we're checking it
Misket's
out.
event is triggered when you receive a letter to visit Confectionery Cottage, located along the outskirts of Azamori. You
Oh,
essentially have
nice.
to do an ingredient fetching side quest, and eventually that triggers Misket to spawn, replacing the baker in charge at the cottage. Next up we have Dastoon, a rock
This is a
dragon
mythical?
type. This is
Oh,
because
rock
of the
dragon,
stone
that's
on
probably
its
why.
back, which I'll get to, but not before saying that the animal it's based on is the Hylonomus lyali, an extinct genus of reptile. They lived around
looks
312 million years ago, and is the provincial fossil of Nova Scotia, adding a
Oh,
Canadian
neat.
element to this mon. So in a way, like Relicanth,
So,
it's a sort
Relicanth.
of an unofficial fossil mon. It isn't just rock type for that reason. As I said earlier, the stone on its back is a prominent part of its design. It is based on the Stone of Scone, also known as the Stone of Destiny, a red sandstone block used to coronate Scottish monarchs. However, England stole it, and then used it for their monarchy. When the
I think I heard
kingdoms
about
of Scotland
that, yeah.
and England became the Kingdom of Great Britain, it was still used, and even is to this day, but it was still kept in England. It broke in two when a group of Scottish students tried
then
stealing
the
it
students
to return
stole
to
it
Scotland
back.
in 1950. It was officially taken back to be housed in Scotland in 1996, with it being briefly taken to England for coronations, like with King Charles III, who is also King of Canada, so there's another connection. Since the
How about
idea
that?
of
It all
stone
works out in
was
the
used
end.
to make someone ascend
England
to a
steals from
powerful
Scotland,
position
Scotland
because
steals
they were
back
chosen
and
by
goes,
God.
"You're moving,
That
England."
made me think of the arcane powers of the dragon type. Also
I think
because it's a
I
reptile.
remember hearing about
As
that
a
in a
result,
video I said
Destoon
before.
is
It's
rock
pretty
type.
interesting.
Considering I had
It's
the
how you steal a
champion
giant
royalty
rock,
code,
like this.
I felt like it made sense for Destoon to appear only to true champions, who can
Makes
ride it by
sense.
sitting on the stone on its back. Kind of like how monarchs sit on the Stone of Scone during coronations. While this happens, and during certain attacks, Destoon enters coronation mode, channeling its
Ooh.
arcane powers for the one true champion of Croneo. Naturally, you have to become Croneo's champion before Destoon shows up, but once the event is triggered, you initially spot it at Victory Road, before it roams around all of the
Oh,
region's
great, so
routes.
roaming.
This is a reference to
I
how
hate
the
those.
Hylonomus is known as the Forest Wanderer, and how the Stone of Destiny wandered to and from Scotland over the past millennium. Finally, let's do the
Well, I guess it
pixie
has
trade.
one general
You know,
area
the
that it'll
likes
go
of
to
Mew,
repeatedly. I
Celebi,
guess that's not so
Jirachi,
bad for
Victini,
roaming.
Meloetta, and Hoopa. So what
Which
have
one's
I
anywhere,
decided
it's
to
like,
do?
hold
There's
still.
a myth called the Fakon. It appears to be a giant with half of a person's features, a single eye, hand, and leg, with a small tuft of hair, and is adorned with feathers on top of its head. I decided to make
Also
it
got
a
2
loose
ears, but I guess that was
adaptation
the
by
feathers.
incorporating those features, but in a psychic way, explaining how it could get around, as well as projecting a hand, and to juxtapose the giant Fakon's malevolent nature with being a small empath. Empathy isn't the same as sympathy, after all. As for
True.
the club the Fakon is said to have, that could also be a psychic projection, and maybe even a new move idea. I called this Pokemon Empari, coming
I call
from
it the
empathy,
big stick.
impaired, and imp. I want to reiterate, I saw and read the description of the appearance of the Fakon, and decided to go abstract with its description, since the concept is kind of the reverse.
I mean, that's how we get most of the
Its
designs based
personality
off
could be
description.
too.
Just go
It's not the
crazy
first
with
time
it.
a
Like, that's what it
real-world
looks
myth
like.
has been turned on its head for a Pokemon design. If the Fakon is half a person, as the myths claim, then Empari could be the other half of humanity, kindness opposed to menace. Empari's event is triggered by cashing in a ticket you receive to visit the Farlands, which I decided to base on the Shetland Islands, with some geographic elements of the Outer Hebrides and Orkney, with a town
Reminds me of the,
inspired by Lerwick in Shetland and Stormness
the extra
in
islands
Orkney.
in the
A leisure
Fire and Leaf
centre
Korea,
inspired
get
by
their
the
names.
Mareel Entertainment Centre in
I
Lerwick
want
is also
Numblar
here,
Islands
as
or
well as some
something?
Viking settlements to reference Shetland and Orkney's Viking history. There is also an aurora, since you can see the northern lights from Shetland, and there's also some icy elements to reference the fact that it's partially in the Arctic Circle. You can encounter all of these Pokemon that you see on screen in this area as well, picked because they or their final evolutions feel like they fit the Scottish Islands. Also,
Sounds cool
if
to
you
me.
see a Mon in a specific form on screen, you would find it in that form. But anyways, once you do
Yeah,
the
you get some
Much
Hawaiian
Mayhem style
Mons
quest,
and
you
Sinnoh
encounter
and stuff like
Empari
that.
at the castle on the North Island.
Cantonians,
The storyline
so
is
on and
that
so
you
forth.
hear tales about a giant, hairy, winged beast with one eye, one hand that reaches out, and one
Now
leg.
where's the
This
one-eyed,
giant
one-horned, flying
bashes
purple people
with
eater?
psychic powers. Basically, a more accurate Poke-sonification of the Fakon. You then find out that it's just an old wives' tale, and discover they were on about Empari the whole time. Yes, some descriptions match, but it's largely nothing like what you've been hearing. You would then battle and catch Empari. So that's
Get in the
every
ball.
mythical in Croneo. Special thanks to all of the artists that
It is
made
cute.
this video possible. They are
Good
credited
designs
on
coming up with
screen
this
right
one.
now.
Interesting
This
how
is
the
final
mythicals
video
are usually
discussing
like the
Agate and
small
Obsidian,
little
but not the
harmless
final Croneo
looking
video.
ones, sort of
Hopefully
like
soon
Chip
you'll
from
see the
Sonic
beginning of the
Unleashed.
sequel, Pokemon
Or
Origins.
legendaries that
I'll
be the
see
big
you then.
monstrous
Cheerio.
things that are just pure raw power. Not all the time, mind you, but it's interesting how that's a bit of a trend. There's like some mythicals could be like God himself, or just be like, oh, it's a cute little fairy looking thing and it looks cute and cuddly, and don't you just want to buy a plushie of it? And the legendary just, I will eat you and your entire civilization and burn it to the ground. Again, not all the time, but, that's the duality, I guess. The duality of man. Whatever. It's a good formula, so that's what they keep using. Plus, I think it's, based on, Japanese or something like that. I don't know for sure. Just funny how that keeps acting up in, JRPGs and stuff like that. Hey, it's a good show, the harmless one and the I will destroy everything one. Anyway, yeah, nice video to learn about all the extra mythicals and going on the different round, the pollution, especially with Manaphy, with that going down that route, and giving a new cousin, I guess you could say, or sort of relationship. And the eye thing was pretty dang cool, too. I forgot its name already, but yeah, going off of that whole description, the one-eyed, one-horned, flying purple people eater. I know that's not the actual one, but I just wanted to say that to me. And that's a good inspiration for where you came up with this stuff. Just going off the description and go from there. I did really like this history of the rock dragon, though. That one really got me. It was a pretty cool one. I liked learning that one in real life, too. It's like, oh, dang. Imagine just got sick. Let me tell you a consistent story. So my shit got stolen from England. Yes, join the club. It happened a lot in history. England just taking stuff. But hey, look back in the past and then find me a civilization that was absolutely, perfect with no problems. Doesn't exist. As in, that country doesn't exist. But yeah, everyone did some screwed up stuff in the past. As long as we do better stuff now, isn't that all that really matters? Whatever. History, just don't repeat the history, I guess. I don't know. It is funny, just how a bunch of high schoolers stole it back, though. It's like, how do you steal a rock like this? Our souls. But it was, even to the English, we were just like, sometimes it was nice to be like, hey, you got one up. I don't know. Maybe it's only outside looking in, just like, hey, you got one up on us. It's like, yeah, but you got one up on us. Fuck you. I don't know. That's our shit we stole. I don't know. Whatever. It is what it is, I guess. Just leads to funny stories at the very least, and good inspiration for Pokemon. And the biscuit Pokemon with a bunch of the food stuff. That was pretty neat, I guess. Not really too much to say about that one. Just like, oh, it's cute. It's nice. Anyway, yeah. That's all there really is to this one. So, also the favorite would be the Rock Dragon just for the story and where it comes from, and the rest were fine. It is what it is. But overall, yeah, solid episode that I'm glad I checked out. So thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Go check out Dr. Eevee's channel in the description below. Thank you. Link to the channel in the description. I think I said that already. And I guess I'll just see all of you next time. Later.